The first 8 hours of a 12-hour shift are a special kind of purgatory. It's a silence so deep it gets inside your head, a vacuum where every tiny sound, the hum of a server rack, the gurgle of the water cooler, the distant groan of the building settling becomes a monumental event. My world is a dimly lit security office, a nest of aging technology, smelling of stale coffee and warm electronics. And my entire universe is a wall of 32 monitors, each one split into 16 smaller squares, showing me 500 little slices of a building that is, for all intents and purposes, a tomb. The Praetorian Office Complex, 30 floors of glass, steel, and empty ambition. After 6 p.m. My job as the lone night security guard isn't to chase intruders. It's to watch, to observe the profound, echoing nothingness and make sure it stays that way. To do a patrol every 2 hours, my footsteps the only thing disturbing the miles of identical, carpeted hallways. It's a mind-numbing, soul-shriveling routine. And I was good at it, until last Tuesday. It started around 1:17 a.m., deep in the witching hour of the shift. I was on my third cup of bitter, burnt coffee, my eyes glazing over as they performed their slow, methodical sweep of the screens. Cubicle farms frozen in time, empty conference rooms with chairs tucked in like teeth, the grand dark atrium, the parking garage levels dotted with the lonely cars of the occasional workaholic. It was all static, a painting I'd memorized every brushstroke of. My gaze drifted over to the 4th floor quadrants. Floor 4 was accounting. Beige walls, gray carpet, the soul-crushingly bland artwork that corporations buy in bulk. My eyes were about to slide right past it when a jolt, subtle but electric, went through me. Something was off. Not wrong in a way that screamed danger, but wrong in the way a single book on a shelf might be turned the wrong way. A feeling of dissonance. I focused on camera 4F12. It was a long shot of the main east-west hallway. I knew this view intimately. The emergency exit sign at the far end had a persistent, barely perceptible flicker. The wallpaper had a subtle vertical stripe pattern, a faint cream and gray. But now the exit sign was gone. Not broken, not dark, just absent, as if it had never been installed. And the wallpaper, the pattern was different. Instead of vertical stripes, it was a faint, almost blurry hexagonal pattern, like a honeycomb drawn by a shaky hand. The lights, too. The fluorescents in our building have a steady, low hum that translates on camera as a consistent, almost warm glow. The lights in this hallway were colder, harsher. They hummed at a slightly higher pitch, a thin, whining frequency that felt like a needle probing at the back of my eyeballs. I blinked, hard, assuming my tired eyes were playing tricks. I pulled up the live feed on my main monitor, enlarging it until it filled the screen. It was undeniably different. A wrong version of the hallway. A glitch. It had to be a glitch. A problem with the camera's imaging sensor or a software bug. I checked the camera designation in the system, 4F12. All diagnostics came back green. Signal strength was perfect. I pulled up the archived footage from the night before. From the exact same time, there it was, the familiar striped wallpaper, the flickering exit sign. This was new. A chill unrelated to the office's aggressive air conditioning traced a path down my spine. I typed a note into the log, 1:22 a.m., camera 4F12 showing visual anomalies. Possible hardware fault. To be inspected by day shift tech, it felt good, professional. A rational answer for an irrational thing. I tried to put it out of my mind, returning to my sweeping routine. But my eyes kept getting dragged back to that one enlarged square of wrongness. It was like a dead pixel on reality itself. The first escalation happened an hour later, just as I was about to start my 2 a.m. patrol. My radio was clipped to my belt, my flashlight in hand. I was doing one last scan before leaving the safety of the office when I saw it. On the monitor showing the 4th floor lobby, camera 4F07. The lobby had 2 large potted plants flanking the elevator banks. Or at least it used to. On the screen now, the plants were gone. In their place were 2 tall, gray, geometric shapes. They weren't sculptures I recognized. They were just angular, featureless pillars. And the carpet in the lobby, which was a solid navy blue, now had that same faint, blurry hexagonal pattern creeping in from the edges, like a stain spreading in water. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't a single camera fault. This was spreading, The wrongness was contagious. I abandoned my patrol, sinking back into my chair. I stared, mesmerized and horrified, as the transformation on 4F07 seemed to solidify. The new, colder light from the wrong hallway bled into the lobby feed, overwhelming the old warmth. The hum from my speakers, feeding from that camera, shifted into that same thin, whining frequency. It was replacing our reality with its own. The rational part of my brain, the part that had gotten me through years of this lonely job, was screaming about a coordinated system-wide failure. A virus in the security software, perhaps. But a deeper, older instinct was waking up, whispering that this was something else entirely. This was an intrusion, not a human one. I spent the next hour in a state of paralyzed vigilance. I didn't take my eyes off the wall. I called my supervisor, Mark, his phone going straight to voiceline. Of course it did. It was 2:30 in the morning. I left a garbled, trying to sound calm message about a critical system malfunction on the 4th floor and hung up. What else could I do? The second escalation was oral. It wasn't on the cameras. It was in my office. The gentle hum of the server racks and the monitors was the soundtrack of my life. But now, underneath it, I began to hear it. A faint echo of that high-pitched whine from the distorted feeds. It was so quiet I thought I was imagining it, a psychic echo from staring at the screens for too long. I muted all the monitor audio. The silence in the room was absolute. But the whine persisted, a faint, persistent tone just at the upper range of my hearing. It was coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was in the air. It was in the walls. It was inside my head. Then the third escalation, the most terrifying one. It was on camera 3F09, a hallway on the 3rd floor directly below the infected 4th. I was watching it, watching for any sign of the pattern, when the change happened, not as a gradual seep, but as a flicker. One moment, it was our world, normal carpet, normal lights. The screen flickered, a quick burst of visual static, and for a single frame, maybe two, it was replaced by the wrong version. The hexagonal pattern, the cold light, it flickered back to normal. Then it happened again. This time, the wrong image held for a full second. I could see it clearly. It was the same architectural layout, the same hallway, but utterly alien. During that 1-second window, something moved. At the very end of the hallway, a figure stepped into frame. It was tall and impossibly thin, its limbs seeming to bend in ways that suggested joints in the wrong places. It was made of shadows in the same gray, textureless material as the pillars that replaced the plants. It had no face, no features, just a smooth, elongated oval where a head should be. It didn't walk. It glitched. One moment it was at the end of the hall, the next it was 10 feet closer, its movement a jarring, instantaneous skip, like a corrupted video file. It stopped, its blank head tilting upwards, as if it were looking directly into the camera. Directly at me. The screen flickered back to the normal 3rd floor hallway. Empty. Quiet. The figure was gone. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. I could feel a cold sweat beating on my forehead. This was no system glitch. This was something alive. Something that was rewriting the building around it, and it knew I was watching. I looked back at the 4th floor feeds. The transformation was complete. Every camera on the 4th floor now showed the wrong version. The hexagonal pattern was sharper now, no longer blurry. The lights were even harsher. And the thing the figure, I could see it now on 2 other cameras, performing that same stuttering, glitching movement, teleporting from one spot to another, always pausing to orient its blank face toward the lens. It was patrolling. It was claiming its territory. And its territory was expanding. The flickering on the 3rd floor became more persistent. The whine in the air grew louder, making my teeth ache. A new smell invaded the office. The smell of ozone and hot metal and something else, something dry and ancient, like static electricity in a tomb. I was trapped. The only exit was through the lobby, which required taking the elevator or the stairs. Both of those required going into the building, into its domain. I watched in utter horror as camera 1F01, the main lobby camera, flickered. The familiar welcome desk, the company logo, the bright lights, they dissolved into static and were replaced. The lobby was now wrong. The gray geometric pillars stood where the plants had been. The hexagonal pattern crawled across the marble floor. The light was cold and dead. It was in the stairwells next. Then the parking garage. One by one, my monitors switched over. My view of the real world was being systematically erased, replaced by this cold digital nightmare. The thing was on every floor now. Sometimes there was one. Sometimes I thought I saw two. They moved in that same jarring, impossible way, exploring their new, expanding home. The final monitor to change was the one pointed at the exterior doors. My last glimpse of the outside world, of the rain-slicked street and the streetlights, was replaced by a view of the same doors, but from the other side. They were now inside with me. The building was sealed. I was no longer a security guard. I was a specimen in a jar. That's when the pounding started. Not on my office door, on the cameras. On one of the second-floor feeds, a figure stood directly underneath the lens, and it was pounding its long gray fist against the wall. The image shook with each impact, but no sound came through the audio feed. It was a silent, violent protest against the glass of its container. Against me, the watcher. A desperate, wild thought entered my mind. The system had a final failsafe, a hard reboot for the entire security grid. The main server switch was not in the office. It was in a maintenance closet in the basement. It was the only piece of critical infrastructure not on the camera network. It was a stupid plan. It meant leaving the office. It meant going out there. But what was the alternative? To sit and wait until the wrongness seeped under my door? Until the air in here was too thin and cold to breathe? Until that thing started pounding on my actual door? I had to try. I grabbed my heavy mag light, my only weapon. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely unlatch the door. The hallway outside my office was still normal, for now. The familiar hum of our lights, the beige walls. It felt like a lie, a thin veneer over the wrongness that was everywhere else. I could still hear that high-pitched whine clearer out here, mingling with the normal sounds. I moved quickly, silently, toward the stairwell. The door to the stairs felt heavier than usual. I pulled it open, wincing at the groan of the hinges. The stairwell was silent, empty. I began to descend, my footsteps echoing far too loudly in the concrete enclosure. I could feel my every move being watched, not by cameras anymore, but by the building itself. The air grew colder with each flight down. The basement level was a maze of pipes, electrical conduits, and storage. The light was dimmer down here, pools of shadow between weak yellow bulbs. I found the maintenance closet, the door unlocked. Inside, it was just as I remembered, a single bare bulb illuminating the server rack with its main power switch. This was it. I said a silent prayer to whatever might be listening and reached for the switch. A sound stopped me. Not the whine, not the hum. A new sound, a soft, rhythmic scraping, coming from right outside the closet door. I hadn't closed it all the way. Through the narrow crack, I could see a sliver of the basement hallway. The scraping grew louder. Something was moving past the door. I held my breath, my body frozen. Then it stopped. Silence. The door began to swing open, slowly, smoothly. It wasn't pushed. There was no one there. It just opened on its own, revealing the empty hallway. The lights in the hallway flickered once, twice. On the third flicker, the figure was there. It stood perfectly still, 10 feet away, its smooth, featureless head pointed directly at me. It had been waiting. I screamed and slammed my hand down on the master power switch. I threw it into the off position. Nothing happened. The lights in the closet didn't go out. The hum of the servers didn't stop. I flipped the switch again and again. Nothing. It was useless. The system, the building, it wasn't running on our electricity anymore. It was running on something else. The figure took a step forward. Not a glitch this time. A slow, deliberate step. Its movement was utterly silent. It raised one long gray arm and a single needle-like finger extended, pointing past me, pointing at the wall. I turned following its gesture. There, on the wall of the maintenance closet, was a small, old security monitor I'd never noticed before. It was active. It showed a view from a camera I didn't recognize. It was a shot of the basement hallway. From an angle near the ceiling. And on the screen, I could see myself standing in the open closet doorway, my face a mask of terror. And I could see the figure standing behind me, its finger pointing. On the monitor, the figure leaned forward, its smooth head coming to rest just beside mine, as if it were whispering a secret to me. In the real world, I felt nothing. No touch, no breath, no sound. But on the screen, I saw myself react. I flinched. My eyes went wide with a new, deeper horror. And then, on the monitor, I saw it happen. The image of me glitched. It flickered, and for a fraction of a second, it was replaced. My form was wrong. My skin was gray. My eyes were gone, replaced by smooth, featureless skin. It flickered back to my normal, terrified face. The figure behind me straightened up, lowering its arm. It took a step back, and then simply vanished from the screen. In the real hallway, it was gone. I was alone, gasping for air, my whole body trembling. I looked back at the small monitor. It now showed a different view. It was a live feed from my own security office. My chair was empty. My coffee cup was on the desk. Everything was normal. It was the only normal screen left. A compulsion seized me. A desperate, insane need to get back to that chair. To that one last piece of my world. Maybe if I could just get back there, I could reset everything. I could wake up from this nightmare. It was the only plan I had left. I ran. I abandoned the basement, taking the stairs 2 at a time, not caring about the noise. I burst out into the ground floor lobby. It was the wrong version. The gray pillars, the hexagonal floor, the cold, dead light. But it was empty. No figures. I didn't stop. I sprinted to the stairwell and flew up the flights until I reached the door to my office level. I shoved it open. The hallway was normal. Our hallway. Beige walls, gray carpet, warm light. I sobbed with relief. I could see my office door at the end of the hall, slightly ajar. The promised land. I ran for it, my legs burning, my mag light forgotten in the basement. I shoved the door open and stumbled inside, slamming it shut behind me and engaging the deadbolt. I leaned against it, chest heaving, tears of relief streaming down my face. I was safe. I was back. It took me a full minute to open my eyes and look at the monitor wall. Every single screen showed the wrong version. The hexagonal patterns, the cold, harsh light, the empty, endless hallways. The view was seamless, perfect. The transformation was complete. The building was gone. I was no longer in the Praetorian office complex. I was somewhere else. And then I saw myself. On the main central monitor, camera 4F12, the one where it all began. The feed showed the long east-west hallway, and there I was. I was standing in the middle of it, my back to the camera. I was pounding my fists against the air, against nothing. My movements were frantic, desperate. I turned around, my face a distorted mask of terror, and I looked directly into the lens. I was screaming. I was screaming without making a sound. From this side of the screen, in the safety of my chair, I heard nothing. Only that constant high-pitched whine. I watched myself on the monitor as I sank to my knees, my hands pressed against the camera lens, begging for a help that would never come. I watched until my image on the screen began to flicker, until my form stuttered and glitched, until my terrified face dissolved into a smooth, gray, featureless oval. The image stabilized. The hallway was empty again, silent. Still, I'm still sitting in my chair. The whine is the only sound. I can feel it vibrating in my teeth, in my bones. I don't know how long I've been here. The clocks on the wall are frozen. Sometimes, on the monitors, I see the figures moving in their stuttering way. They never look at me anymore. I am not a watcher. I am part of the scenery. I think I understand now. This isn't a place you break into. It's a place that breaks into you. It doesn't want to destroy our world. It just wants to overwrite it, to paste its own empty, silent reality over ours, until the original is just a forgotten memory, a corrupted file. I can't leave this chair. There's nowhere left to go. This office is the last room, an island in a sea of wrong hallways. I just watch the screens. I watch the empty, perfect stillness. And I wait for the day I look up and see the hexagonal patterns start to creep across my own walls. I wonder if the day shift will notice the difference when they come in, if they'll even be able to come in, or if they'll just see a perfectly normal, quiet building. I wonder if the next night guard will sit in this chair, watching his 500 screens, and if his eyes will ever drift to a camera that looks just slightly off. Maybe he'll be smarter than me. Maybe he'll just look away. Was it a glitch in the system or a glitch in reality itself? I suppose it doesn't matter anymore. The result is the same. I'm here, and soon I won't be me anymore. I can already feel the silence settling in, replacing the thoughts. It's a very quiet place. You should visit sometime. Just be careful what you watch on your security monitors. You never know what might be watching you back from the other side of the glass. And you never know if the person who comes back from investigating a strange sound is really the same person who left. I think my replacement is here. I can hear the elevator chiming down the hall. It's a sound I haven't heard in a long time. It's time for me to go. I have a new patrol to start. I feel the urge to stand up, to walk to the door. My movements feel stuttered, like a skipping record. It's not a bad feeling. It's just different. It's just quiet. I'm sure the new guard will be just fine.